Welcome back everyone. Today we'll be discussing the Yeezy 350 Blue Tint, and before we begin, just want to give a big shout out to all the OGs who've been on this channel since the live stream for these Blue Tints back in 2017, where we went over multiple jigs such as the Barney's jig, throwback if you remember that one, only the OGs know. But anyway, let's continue. Specifically, we'll be discussing some release info, how to cop, and of course some resale predictions at the end of the video. The Yeezy 350 Blue Tint releases on January 22nd. Retail will be $230, which is $10 more than the usual for 350s, which is unfortunate. Currently, Foot Sites and Hibbet have them for $220, and this appears to be an error as Adidas and other retailers such as DFSG already have them up for $230. Snipes did the same thing on the reflectives, and they never ended up charging more, so we might actually catch a break on these sites. Since this is an Adidas product and not Nike, I cannot confirm the exact stock myself, but based on how much stock Asia received, proportionally, it's looking like these will definitely have healthy stock like most 350s, although unlikely as high as the Belugas had. Regarding resale, we will cover that towards the end of the video as always. With the release info out of the way though, let's jump into how to cop these Yeezy 350 Blue Tints. As usual, we'll be going in chronological order of the sites that are going to be receiving these, along with how to properly manage your time for the maximum efficiency. Make sure to follow my Twitter, KeithAdam10, and personals for you for any urgent updates on these or any hype sneaker in general, such as the exclusive access drops and shock drops we frequently do see. Also, please ensure that you please do not forget to sign up for the Adidas confirmed app raffle for these, as the most stock is allocated to here by a significant amount. Additionally, you can increase your chances of winning these by entering in more accounts, of course. Similar to Nike, Adidas does require SMS verification, so you will have to ask a friend of yours to use their phone number and ask them for the verification code as you would for Nike. Or if you rather not bother your friends or just want a significant amount of accounts in general, feel free to check out my site TARS for pre-verified Adidas or Nike sneakers accounts. The link for that is in the description below. In addition to Adidas confirmed, make sure you also don't forget to enter for the Flex app reservation raffles. And now, in addition to the in-store reservations, as most of you should know by now, there are online shipping reservations too. However, if you do have the ability to pick up for in-store, I'd strongly suggest choosing in-store rather than online, unless you're in a very densely populated city such as New York City, as your chances are normally going to be much higher for winning in-store. Moving on to the first come first serve sites though, we will be discussing these in chronological order as usual. Kicking it off, since this is a Yeezy, you will have to be awake at 7 a.m. Eastern time. And yes, I know it's early. Why do they do this? I have no f***ing idea. First, I would suggest going for Hibbet, since the other drops we'll be discussing at 7 a.m. are less time sensitive, where Hibbet is really dependent on how fast you are. This is what we've been suggesting recently for your first come first serve site, and it's been going well. So you might end up getting the press and hold capsule loop, as I've been frequently discussing, so just some tips to again prevent this loop. Go to the coming soon page on the Hibbet calendar right before 7 a.m. hits, click on the Yeezy Men or Grade School, it's your choice, then slowly scroll down until you see the sizes. If you scroll too quickly, you'll likely end up being caught inside that loop. And my biggest advice in general for the site, as usual, is to use Apple Pay on your mobile device for the most efficient checkout. Foot Sites, Finish Line, JD Sports, and DSG will all be dropping around this time as well. However, you do not need to pay attention to these sites at exactly 7 a.m. You could first go for Hibbet, then focus on these sites afterwards because they are queue related. Make sure to set up tabs for these sites beforehand. You should set them up as soon as you see my account or personals for you to tweet out the links. This way, they're already ready to go and waited in queue after Hibbet. Now, by the way, Foot Sites have been recently, I would not focus on there, but you can feel free to open up some tabs. I guess it can't really hurt you. They've been dropping the vast majority of their stock through the online shipping, Flex app reservations. You should try to focus more on DSG's queue instead, as I have been seeing a ton of manual success there recently, such as the Yeezy Beluga drop, the Jordan 11 drop, and most recently the Jordan 4 drop. There's been a ton of manual success, so definitely be sure you're up and early because you do want to try this site, in addition to Hibbet, of course. Then you should also keep checking your Finish Line and JD Sports tabs too, as you're trying to card on Foot Sites and checking the DSG queue in between. I also expect that Finish Line and JD will do exclusive access sometime soon this week. I'll try to tweet that out whenever that does occur. They aren't on the calendar yet though, so we'll see what happens. I expect them to load soon. When you do pass queue, it's pretty self-explanatory. Just try to add to cart and check out for any of these sites. Foot Sites are really the only site of these that should give you trouble, as near impossible to card here pretty much. One thing I must note for JD Sports and Finish Line though, they have become very sensitive, so do not open up multiple Chrome users here. Stick to one tab only for each site, otherwise you will risk a temporary IP ban. However, for DSG, you could certainly feel free to open up multiple Chrome users. They're much less sensitive here. Please remember to wake up early enough to set these tabs up the night beforehand or very early in the morning. This way you don't have to set them up last minute and you're already going to be waiting in queue, especially for DSG, as I've been saying. At 8 a.m. Eastern Time, we should see Undefeated drop and potentially Packer as well, although I'd suggest focusing on Undefeated over Packer since Undefeated requires a count and they tend to receive more stock anyway. Before this time, make sure you are signed into your Undefeated account as it is required for this site to check out. Be ready to solve a checkpoint captcha as well. If you don't have access to a Shopify monitor, you could try refreshing the search page for Yeezy 350, but your chances of copying here will be slim to none manually. Regardless, it's worth a shot since there shouldn't be anything else at this time. Then at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, we'll have the next best opportunity aside from the Adidas Confirmed app, and that is Yeezy Supply. Right after 9 a.m. Eastern Time, usually around 9:02 to 9:04 a.m. Eastern Time, the sale for Yeezy Supply should go live. However, you should already be set up in advance because the queue normally begins at around 8:45 a.m. Eastern Time, which will give you more than sufficient time to set up. Since Yeezy Supply is a queue, you can feel free to set up all these Chrome users well in advance. You will see the screen change to the sale has started when it actually does begin. For those who are wondering what I mean by Chrome users, it's super simple. Let me just walk you through it really quickly. So go to the top right corner of your screen in Google Chrome, click on your profile, then click on Add Person, add a random name and emblem, then click Done. Repeat this for as many Chrome users as you want. You can technically do as many as you want, but the best amount is relative to your personal computer. It all depends on your CPU. If you have too many for your computer to handle, then it'll be extremely laggy and inefficient, so you may have to play around a little bit to find a perfect medium. Also, to view all of them at the same time, quick tip is to use the Windows and Tab button on Windows and the F3 button at the top of your keyboard on Mac. It is also suggested that you only have a max of 10 users per IP address, so you can split 10 on your Wi-Fi and another 10 on another device connected to your hotspot, or you could use a proxy switcher free extension, which I would suggest too, and if you buy residential proxies, you might as well just make a unique IP for every single one since you could generate an unlimited amount anyway. If anyone did want to go this route, feel free to check out the links in the description below for kit proxies. Now, equally as important, make sure to sign into an active Gmail account on each of your Chrome users. Try not to log into the same one too many times, but it'll have to be one of yours that are relatively active. This will make passing queue much more efficient. Just Google my Gmail V3 score in your browser to see how close your Gmails are to a 0.9. The closer, the better. Now, moving on to 10 a.m. Eastern Time, the sites we'll be seeing drop are mostly all Shopify, aside from Snipes and potentially Nordstrom if they do load it on the calendar. For your first come first serve sites of choice, your best shot will likely be Shop Nice Kicks or Shoe Palace, just because they tend to get super high stock even though they're heavily botted. Aside from there, you could try Kith or Jimmy Jazz, but again, all these sites are going to be very, very difficult or impossible to cop off of manually, but it's worth a try anyway since these are your first come first serve options. Just a note though, the blue tints are not loaded on any of these calendars yet, so I'm not sure what's going on yet, but these sites do typically drop 350, so I'm expecting them to load sometime soon. I'll keep you guys updated with my site list when I do post that the night before. If Nordstrom loads them too, as they're not loaded on that calendar either, they typically drop around 1 to 2 minutes after 10 a.m. So go for the Shopify drop first, then go to Nordstrom and keep refreshing that page. Also at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, Snipes will be dropping. Snipes does a queue release, so you don't need to focus on here at exactly 10 a.m. Just set up some Chrome users as you would for Yeezy Supply. If you do pass queue manually here, it is definitely possible to cop. But passing is the hard part for most of you. Now, if you're in Gargantua AIO or Endurance, we get bypass links that are generated by Gargantua AIO, so it's often a manual cookout for us, but it's still possible to pass naturally too, so definitely don't give up even if you're not in the group. Make sure to follow the Endurance and Gargantua AIO Twitters if you are interested in restocks, however. Then at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, we should be seeing Dover Street Market New York E-Flash drop. This site is pretty much near impossible, or I'd say impossible now, now to hit manually, especially because they don't consistently even use a checkpoint or proxy protection. Regardless, there shouldn't be much else going on at this time, so you can feel free to give it your best shot. Now, we won't be discussing Europe sites today since it appears that the Europe release is delayed, and I say delayed because I believe that there will eventually be a Europe drop for these since a few stores did load these up and remove them. So with that said, let's move on to the resale predictions. To start, as mentioned earlier, I don't have exact stock for these. This is not a Nike or Jordan item, unfortunately, but if stock is proportional to Asia's as usual, it should definitely be healthy like most 350s, and this of course makes sense based on how many corporate sites are already dropping these. As for demand, unfortunately it seems that demand is lower than what we saw on the Beluga Reflectives several days out from the drop, but nonetheless, the sale volume at these high prices is certainly very impressive for a Yeezy 350. This of course makes perfect sense considering the Blue Tints were a very hyped pair back when they first released in 2017. Many will agree that this is certainly one of the better 350 colorways. On the other hand, it is unfortunate that retail is $10 higher at $230, aside from the few sites like Foot Sites and Hibbet which still have them loaded as $220. On most sites at least, this of course will hinder your margin. Regardless though, I do feel that demand is certainly sufficient to allow for profitability with a good margin in large sizes, 10 and up being the best of which. However, I do also feel that smaller sizes should be profitable too. I'm just only expecting about a poor to subpar margin on those really small sizes. So unlike how Yeezy production used to be with smaller sizes being the most limited, now it's quite the contrary, of which where the larger sizes are actually the most profitable. I'll personally be going for all sizes though. I'll be focusing mostly on the larger sizes, even the middle sizes, but since I'll personally be shipping to a state with no tax, I'm just gonna go for all sizes anyway. I don't really care if the margin's really low. Let me know if you guys are also planning to get your personal pairs. Personally, I don't need mine since I still got my 2017 pair, and that pair will always hold a lot of sentimental value to me. Throwback to the legendary 24-hour live stream where we went over tons of jigs and Q&A all night and all morning. So let me know in the comments below if you were a part of that stream. Be amazing to see some OGs still on the channel. Back when we were about at 1,500 subs and doubled it overnight, that was definitely awesome and an experience I'll never forget and something I'm definitely very grateful for. So obviously just want to take this time to thank all you OGs who've been supporting since the beginning. This is definitely a shoe that means a lot to me, and some of you guys will know that since you've been here since the beginning. Anyway, expect the seller hold video on these the day before the drop as usual. Let me know if you guys plan to keep a personal pair. Anyway, that'll conclude it for today. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed, or perhaps if you learned a thing or two. Subscribe and enable post notifications. This way you stay 100% updated on all hyped releases. Also, feel free to check out the links in the description below for reliable, fast, residential proxies and pre-verified Nike sneakers or Adidas accounts. Also, follow Endurance's Twitter for updates on restocks or key giveaways, and the same goes for Gargantua if you want to keep up with the progress or restocks. Last but not least, make sure to follow Keith Adam 10 and Personals for You so you guys stay updated on all urgent info like I was discussing today. With that though, I will see you guys later. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and of course, good luck on this release.